Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby Monet, and if you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, hey sis, where you been? In today's video, we're going to be doing my first ever wrap-up video. So, I don't know how this is going to go. We will be winging it, but I will be talking about all of the books that I read for January and how I felt about them and so on and so forth. So if you'd like to hear it, here it go. So first, let's start off with the fact that I intended on reading 7 books for January, and I only read 6, but my TBR did not go the way that I planned for it to go. So I didn't read What is the What, and I did not read Black Sun, which is 2 books that were in my original TBR video, but everything else that were on my TBR, I did read. So I guess first let's go over stats. According to my Goodreads app, I am ahead of pace to meet my yearly goal. I read 6 books, so that's good. For the Bookly app, I didn't meet my goals for the month. Now, I planned on reading every day. That did not happen. I planned on reading a certain amount of hours in the month. That didn't happen. So as you guys see, my stats on the Bookly app are not bad, but I definitely want to do better going into February, just so that I am better, like on pace a little bit better, which I thought I was gonna be. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys, there was like the middle of January there where I kind of got into a bit of a reading funk, and I just didn't feel like reading, and it took me a while to find something that I like opened and it held my attention. So that I want to like do a little bit better with in the month of February. Also, using the Bookly app is super easy. I highly suggest you guys download the app, because it did help me when I was reading every day. The reminder helped me. It's not annoying, and it's not hard to remember to open it when you're reading either. And I actually appreciate the stats. I did feel a little bad that I wasn't meeting the mark every day, but life happens. Things were crazy at work in the month of January, so it is what it is. I'm not gonna beat myself up. I still read 6 books in the month of January, and like the Goodreads app said, I am 1 book ahead, I think. Yeah, like 1 book ahead of myself, so I'm good. I'm on pace, and that's all that matters. So let's start with The Invention of Wings. So I have a lot to say about this book, and I considered doing a whole like separate video about it, but then I was just like, I don't know, maybe I will anyway. But The Invention of Wings is a story about Sarah and her slave handful, and it documents their life together and then their lives without each other and the differences in their lives. So did I like the book? I guess. Was the writing good? Yes. Sue Monk Kidd is a phenomenal writer. Was the... I don't really know what the point of the story was. Let's just kind of bite the bullet with that. I don't know what the point of the story was. If the point of the story was to show you, us, the reader, the vast differences in girls that are the same age but of different races, it did a really good job at that. But one thing that stood out to me that made me a little, I don't want to say uncomfortable because that would be giving the book too much, but annoyed is a good thing, is that Sarah's character was so fucking annoying. excuse my language, but she just, it seems like, not it seems like, she doesn't believe in slavery, even though she's being raised in the South by a family that owns slaves, and she was gifted a slave for her birthday. But the way that the synopsis reads of the book is as if Sarah becomes this abolitionist because she's really, you know, against slavery and wants this to end and has different views. But words mean things, and the words that were in the book added up to a very much easily read sum of, she became an abolitionist because she wanted to make something of her life. She, in the beginning of the story, when she was a kid, she wanted to become a lawyer, but in her time, women don't do that. So her father and her brothers weren't very supportive of that and told her that she couldn't do it. So she was constantly looking for a like a way to prove herself, and it happened to be in becoming an abolitionist. It was really annoying to me that she considered Handful her friend, because friendship means that you have a choice. Like, y'all are my friends, and I choose, like, y'all choose to be my friend, and I choose to be y'all's friends back. Does that make sense? Handful did not have a choice. She had to be. She was an employee. Like, Handful loved her the way that you might love your boss or your coworkers, because you see them every day and you share so much space with each other that you can't help but to become attached to said people. It just, when I posted on my Instagram page that I had started reading it, and there were so many white women that were like, you're in for a treat and you're gonna love this so much. Like, as I got further into the book, it really made me consider, what is it that y'all love so much about this book and why? I think what Sarah's character represented was how mediocre some white women can be, and how y'all only have to do the bare minimum. Like, even her sister, Nina was so traumatized from the things that she heard. It wasn't, they never really had instances where they were like, oh, they're people too, they don't deserve this, they the slaves. It was more of a, it's so traumatizing to hear the happenings of the workhouse and all of this other stuff. It just was meaty. It just was, it was very much like today, where white women are very much like, oh, I have a black friend too, and I buy things from black stores, own shops, and I, you know, read a black book every once in a while. It's just, it wasn't enough. And I think the sincerity needs to be there. Like, you should really feel like you shouldn't get a cookie for participating. You don't get an award for thinking that something is wrong, that we all know is wrong. You don't get rewarded for that. So I don't see what the hype was around that book. It also kind of made me feel a way about Sue Monk Kidd, because she is constantly writing about black people. And I don't know, it kind of gives me, I feel weird. Who am I to say that you can't write about a character that is outside of yourself? That's not fair. I feel like you can do it in a pleasant way. I think Matt Ruff did a very good job in Lovecraft Country doing the same exact thing, while proving his point and not making it, I don't know. It was race related, but it wasn't weird. It was just a story. I'm gonna keep my eyes on Sue Monk Kidd. I'm glad that the first book that I read by her was The Book of Longings, because I absolutely love that. If I would have read The Inventions of Wings first, I probably would have told you that is a racist woman in disguise. And you might want to keep all your good eyes on her. Okay? So yeah, I gave it a 3 stars on Goodreads because the writing wasn't bad. The writing wasn't bad. It's just some of her characters were a little sus. And maybe it was just that's how the women were of that time. But that's not true, because that's how the white women are of today. So I don't know. But on to the next. We are going to talk about another book that I didn't really like. The Beauty of Your Face. I didn't want to mess up my stack is right there. I didn't want to mess up the title. So The Beauty of Your Face is about a Muslim woman who is faced with a school shooting by this racist man, a white man. I did not know what to expect from this book. I wanted to love it. I thought I was gonna love it because it's such a touchy topic, and I don't know how often conversations of trauma are handled around this topic. But there's no way to excuse school shooting. There's no way to excuse racism and all of that sort of thing. So I was really excited to read this book, and then I started reading it. And like the first half of it was really interesting because maybe even more than the first half, you open up to, she's a principal, the main character is a principal, and it's an all-girl Muslim school, and she talks about her daughter, and she's talking about her life. We get to the school shooting aspect of it, and then it pauses to kind of talk about her life and a lot of things that happened to her throughout her life, like her sister going missing, how that affected her family, her finding religion alongside her dad, how that affected her brother, leading to her, like, her father's death, and like her being Muslim now and having a hijab, and what the struggles that lie within that in itself. And it was really heartwarming, like listening to her story, and her growth from child to adult. But then we get parts of the school shooter and like how he was abused as a kid, and his life wasn't the best, and he's just one of those, for lack of better words, probably a Trump supporter if I had to compare him to anything else. Just stupid, belligerent, and he probably would have been out there storming the Capitol. But anyway, there was no rhyme or reason for his hate for he just had it, and there was no I don't know. And not that I want to ever be able to sympathize with people that do things like this, but as someone who's like really big into like murder podcasts and all that kind of stuff, I'm often interested in the psychological part of it. So maybe it has something to do with his upbringing and that he was abused, or whatever the case may be. But long story short, the story ends with her trying to forgive the school shooter, like visiting him in jail. And I was just like, what? Like, maybe I just couldn't tell you what the point of the story was. Like, how did we get here? Is it that because she found religion, she's able to forgive him, and she knows that the things that happen to you are bigger than you as a person? I don't know. Maybe those were the things, but I just didn't like where the story went. The writing was beautiful. The story was put together very well. It tied up all of the loose ends, except for her going to visit this person that wrecked her life and her students and killed some of her students and all of that, just to ask him why. I was like, I I just don't know. It just stopped. I was just like, that's not what I was expecting at all. Okay, next. The Memory Police. This is another one this month that I was just like, maybe this book is just not for me. So I attempted to read it, but then it was boring, for a lack of better words. And again, another book that I read the synopsis and I was like, oh, the things are disappearing and this should be so cool, and it just wasn't. I ended up listening to the audiobook, which you guys know I prefer to read, but sometimes an audiobook is necessary, so whatever. It wasn't bad. I just don't think it was for me. Does that make sense? I just don't think that it was for me. The main character lives on this island. The things just disappear, and then the memory police come and they take people who can remember or don't abide by the memory police rules, right? And then the whole story goes on where there are things that are disappearing, and then it slowly leads to the people themselves disappearing. And she's a writer, and we get bits and pieces of her story in there, which I didn't understand how her story that the novel that she was writing connected with the actual story of the memory police, outside of the fact that her editor was one of those people that could remember, and she hides him in her house to save him. So there was like a bit of a love story. I think the only thing that I could really come up with was that maybe it's a story about how things fade, and in order for us to like move forward, we need to, focus on the things that we actually have. So like, it kind of made me think of like how one of the things that went missing in the story was a calendar, and it was just like, oh, not many people have calendars in their houses anymore because we all use our phones. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but people that remember, I guess the calendar is a bad example here, but y'all gonna catch my drift. People that remember what it's like to like buy a particular calendar that has like your favorite characters on it, or like the calendars with the find behind fire department firefighters, which, by the way, only the firefighters in those calendars were cute anyway. But like, when you remember that, it's like you kind of hold on to the past in a way that is not necessarily healthy, and it makes you sort of hate the things that come after that. Maybe that's what the point of the book was about. But I just didn't get it. And I really expected more from it. And I can't even really say that the writing was all that great. The audiobook was phenomenal. I love the audiobook. Whoever the actress was really, really good. Or are they actresses or like voice actresses, or how does that, you get what I'm saying. Okay, next we're going to talk about Devil in a Blue Dress. It was the first book that I read of the year, and I loved it. It was so good. Devil in a Blue Dress is the first book in the Easy Rawlins series. Easy is down on his luck. He loses his job, and he comes into this this other job as a detective for this guy where he has to find this woman. And the whole story is that it's this blonde hair white woman that likes to be around black guy, like she likes to date black guys, but they need to find her because of some money and all of this other stuff. It was a really good story. The plot twist is that, never mind, I'm not gonna tell you, I want you to read it. The plot twist was really good. My only thing about this book that I was kind of like was that you could tell it was his first book. Like, I've read some of his other work, and like there were certain things in the book that I was like, did I fall asleep while I was reading, or did I miss something? Like, how did we get here from there? But I love the characters. The character growth was good. I'm super excited to read the next one and the rest of the series, actually. I believe he has a new Easy Rollins book coming out this month. Looks like I'll be buying something else. Another book. Next we can talk about The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. It is an interesting story, but a story not necessarily for me. It is dense. It is another book that I listened to the audiobook for, because reading it I was just like, I can't get through these writings. I need somebody to read it to me. It's a good story. It just, I wasn't blown away by it. It's a pretty sad story. So the main character grows up in a village where they pick tea leaves, and her family's poor, and she ends up getting pregnant outside of marriage, which goes against the village's rules and such like that. And her parents didn't like the guy that she wanted to marry, even though she was in love with him. She was really smart and supposed to be going to school, but then this guy comes and wants to buy the tea leaves, and she has to give the baby up for adoption. And it tells like some of the baby story and some of her story, and it was sad, but it was a lot. And 3.5, 4 stars. Like, the story was good. It was just sad, and it was just a lot. It was very informative about tea, something that I love to drink, but it wasn't for me. I'm really hoping that February I have like a really good book month, because granted I read a decent amount of books for January, but I just wasn't feeling all of them like that. Like, I was just like, I guess, girl. And then, yeah, I hope we have a good month in February. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about A Girl is a Body of Water, which I absolutely loved. It was long as jacks, though. Like, I felt like I was reading for 50 days and 50 nights. It's a story about a girl who grows up in her village, and we grow up with her. I wonder if this book is considered a saga, because I guess it kind of reads like a saga. It reads very much like the book Aria. I don't remember who the author of Aria is off the top of my head right now, but it reads very much like Aria, where it takes us through this Karabo is the main character's life. It takes her through her life. It takes us through her life, and it like, everybody is connected somehow, and it is really a story to me about the importance of sisterhood, like the importance of being kind to your fellow women, because we all need each other, and we are better together than we are apart. I highly recommend it. I don't want to tell you too much about it. I do have the book discussion up, because A Girl is a Body of Water was the January book pick for Shelby in the book club. So if you want to hear more, you can always go to the Instagram page. The book discussions are always saved on my IGTV. But yeah, it was really, really good. Like, I think that's something that I want to read again eventually, just to kind of, if there was anything that I missed. But yeah, that was it. Those are my reads for the month. A Girl is a Body of Water, I definitely gave a 5-star. Devil in a Blue Dress, I think I gave a 4-star on Goodreads. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do my rating situation for books. Once I figure that out, I'll either talk about it on here or post it on the Instagram page. But that is all for now. I hope this video is not super long. It'll probably be a 30-minute video, but y'all like long videos anyway, don't you? So with that said, if nobody has told you today, I love you. Happy Black History Month again. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.